Hello, thanks for joining us on your channel of choice at this time, Africa Independent Television, AIT. Welcome to Focus Nigeria, your program in which we put the searchlight on topical issues in the politics. My name is Gbenga Aruleba, and it's Friday edition of the program. So, here we go. Thank God it's Friday. Anyway, it's like I'm in the mood already. But just one or two issues to review for you before we resume today's conversation, which is still on the state of the nation, calls for restructuring, emergence of different movements and coalition ahead of the 2019 general elections. And of course, the Obasanjo angle is still very much trending because Dr. Baba, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, has now drawn the battle line. We saw that yesterday. So today, fresh voices and fresh faces will be joining our discourse. One of my guests, actually, is Dr. Kemi Rotimi. He's an associate professor in the Department of History at the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. And for reasons of the distance between Ile-Ife and Abuja, he's a friend and a resourceful resource person on national security, policing, and all that. But you don't get to see him every now and again because of that distance I talk about. But he's in town, and I got hold of him late evening yesterday when he called me to say, oh boy, I'm in town. So he will be here this morning. And Dr. Padi Njoku is the Dean of the Peace Ambassadors of Nigeria. He's a renowned arbitrator and by extension, a peacemaker. So both men will join me shortly for what should be an interesting conversation this morning. But one development in the Senate on Thursday caught my attention this morning is the attempt by the Senate to celebrate and draw support from a very curious judgment of a federal high court delivered, I think, on January 15 or so ago. So, it's the judgment by Justice John Soho in the case instituted by one Oluwatosin Ojaomo, I think, whose case against the National Assembly and the Attorney General of the Federation was on the non-confirmation of Ibrahim Magu as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Now, the claim of this plaintiff, whose only identity is that he is a lawyer, his claim was for a declaration that the National Assembly should be presumed to have confirmed Ibrahim Magu as chairman of the EFCC. He was also asking for a declaration that the Senate does not even have the power to reject Magu's appointment in the first place. And then, finally, he asked for an order of court to the effect that under the law, Magu does not even need Senate confirmation to be named EFCC chairman. Now, these were the claims before the court. Justice John Soho is instructive that in the very end of this case was struck out by Justice John Soho. But not until he had also thrown something very curious into the mix, which is what the Senate is now finding convenient to hold on to in his claim of victory over the executive as far as this Magu or no Magu issue is concerned. Yesterday, the Senate spokesperson, Senator Abdullahi Sabi, harped endlessly on this aspect of the judgment, which no doubt, if you ask me, is nothing but an unnecessary judicial excursion by his lordship, who assumed the role of the Supreme Court to make what I would call a policy statement. Now, let's listen to Sabi first, and then I'll come back to round up on this issue.
Will definitely find this judgment in order and will be submitting very, very soon another nominee to carry on with the good work of anti-corruption, especially now that we are very proud of him as the AU anti-corruption crusader. That is saying, you said we don't have powers to even confirm these people, that you need not bring them for confirmation to us. Was that not the statement coming from the presidency then, when the acting vice president was on seat? And so we came to chamber here, and many people said, how can this be coming out from that quarters? If that is it, then what are we doing here? So for that reason, all the ones they've sent to us, we're not going to look at it until you withdraw that statement.
Now, I said earlier that that aspect of Justice Soho's judgment amounts to nothing because it's an unnecessary judicial excursion and a journey that leads to nowhere, really. Now, I don't talk from my head. This is the judgment of the court. I've read it for very short judgment. How many pages, Seth? Just about 11 pages. And I've read it. I had to make sure that I look for the judgment. I got it and I read it. Now, here is why I said that the judge embarked on a judicial excursion. First, when a case like this comes before a judge by a private citizen, the first issue to be settled in law, of course, is that of jurisdiction. It could be either as a result of any peculiar interest of the plaintiff or the issues formulated for the court. That is what will determine the issue of local standing of the person coming to court. It must be settled first. I already told you here that the plaintiff here, who identified himself as Oluwatosin Ojamo, is just but a lawyer. And that was all he told the judge as far as the issue of his interest in this case or local standing is concerned. Now, hear what his lordship said in his judgment on this issue of local standing, which had to be settled first. And I'm quoting the judge verbatim here. Now, he said, having regard to the questions presented for determination and the reliefs sought in the originating summons by the plaintiff in this instant suit, his local standing, in my humble opinion, is doubtful. The affidavit depositions which gave background information of the plaintiff have not disclosed sufficient stake or peculiar interest of the plaintiff above others that entitles him to institute this action. The plaintiff has introduced himself as a certified legislative counsel, a professional drafter trained by the Commonwealth Secretariat, London, United Kingdom, also trained at the Ghana School of Law, Accra, Ghana. Also that he is a solicitor and advocate of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and currently a legal practitioner in a law firm. This, in my humble view, does not establish any special or unique interest of the plaintiff above those of others that entitles him to institute this action. On this premise, this suit is liable. I'm quoting the judge, don't forget. This suit is liable to be struck out for lack of standing to maintain the action. For lack of standing to maintain the action. So the action, as at that point, was already dismissed. And the judge went on to cite some legal authorities of superior courts to back that decision. Correctly so. Now, one would have expected that, having heard that the suit before him was defective and had no plaintiff, and therefore not maintainable in law, his lordship, Justice John Soho, should just have dismissed the suit there without any further ado. But no, he then went on to consider on the merits, the substantive issues raised by a non-existent plaintiff. You know, that's what I told you earlier, because he already said that there was no plaintiff before him. Now, he already correctly heard that there was no plaintiff, and then, like I said, he then went on to look at the merit of the case, of a case that has no known plaintiff before him. What then was he considering? A dead case? Issues raised by a person that does not have locus to raise such issues in a case that was already dead? Now, that exercise in judicial excursion is what the senators are now celebrating, and it's all because of Justice John Soho's judicial, well, permit me, judicial indiscretion. His action is actually worse than that, but I'll just use that word. But then, here, I always want to believe that judges, particularly at the lower level, are permitted to err. So his lordship may just have, you know, erred here. But for our senators who are celebrating this as a victory over Mago, they need to be reminded that the final order made by Justice Soho in this case is that this suit by Oluwatosin Ojamo is, and I'm quoting him again, consequently struck out. And the reason for being lack of local standing. So if you ask me, dear senators, there's nothing to celebrate yet. But since you always don't want to hear things like this, please, oh, this is Friday. Let me not spoil your mood. Please, enjoy your celebration. I won't hold it against you. And I told you, I told you there were some other developments on the Coalition for Nigeria. Yes, there's a development on that. The Baba, okay, you don't know who Baba is. Chief Dr. Olusegun Obasanjo has shown that he is the big masquerade behind the movement. He formally registered as a member and leader of the movement in Abeokuta yesterday, and here is a clip of that.
I see a new Nigeria in the hands of God.
Sorry, I won't hurt you, sir.
If the instruments we have used so far in our nation building and governance since independence have not served us well, it is imperative that we should rethink and retool. Coalition for Nigeria movement is proposed as the new direction to mobilize our population for unity, cooperation, development, rule of law, employment, law and order, justice, integration, peace, security, stability, welfare and well-being. In these regards, special attention and space must be given to youth and women. The movement is a means to an end. The end is Nigeria unshackled, united, dynamic, strong, secure, cohesive, stable, and prosperous at home and respected outside.
Okay, there you have it. Now you know that Baba's new coalition, or the coalition for Nigeria that he called it for in his special press release, is the same thing as the National Intervention Movement that has the likes of Olagunseyi Oyinlola, Donald Duke, retired Colonel Umar Dangiwa, who else? Soludo, and so many of them. Now they are one and the same thing. All right. Our discussion is up next. My guest will be joining me shortly.
It is just a week after the former president released a lengthy letter on his thoughts on the state of the nation addressed to President Muhammadu Buhari. Here, the former president is putting into action one of the major points highlighted in that communication, that is, forming a movement to mobilize Nigerians for a new political awareness.
I see a new Nigeria in the hands of God.
Coming a day after some of the former president's known political associates gathered in Abuja to officially unveil the platform called the Coalition for Nigeria Movements, Abeokuta, Obasanjo's base, is just the natural location to introduce the new movement to southern Nigeria, with the former president officially becoming a member.
Sorry, I won't hurt you, sir.
If the instruments we have used so far in our nation building and governance since independence have not served us well, it is imperative that we should rethink and retool.
An address of the gathering by the former president revealed more about the coalition, which is described as a popular socio-economic movement designed to be a vehicle to give hope to the youth, dignity and encouragement to women, as well as security, confidence and a promising future to all Nigerians.
Coalition for Nigeria movement is proposed as the new direction to mobilize our population for unity, cooperation, development, rule of law, employment, law and order, justice, integration, peace, security, stability, welfare and well-being. In these regards, special attention and space must be given to youth and women.
For some of the supporters of the former president who already bought into the idea, the coalition is the exact solution that Nigeria desires at this challenging moment.
We shared part of his concern and we want this nation to move forward.
We want to form this coalition now so that people can see we are up to something, looking for something for Nigeria.
The movement is a means to an end. The end is Nigeria unshackled, united, dynamic, strong, secure, cohesive, stable, and prosperous at home and respected outside.
The former president and other leaders of the coalition are yet to decide if the platform will eventually transform into a political party. Their concern for now appears to be how to mobilize Nigerians from across political divides to give the country a new political and leadership direction beginning from 2019.
All right, that report by Tokunbo Oyetunji actually puts all the issues in proper context because we'll be starting with many of them now. Let me introduce my guest. Dr. Paddy Njoku is here. He's President, International Institute of Leadership and Governance. I already introduced him as a peacemaker as well. And is he a conciliator or reconciliator?
Mediator and conciliator.
Mediator and conciliator.
Chartered mediator and conciliator.
Good to see you, sir.
My pleasure.
Happy New Year. This is our first meeting this year. Yes, sir. And same to Nigerians. Dr. Kemi Rotimi, I also introduced him as a friend, but because of the distance, he is a resourceful resource person, but you always don't see him every time because of the distance. He is an associate professor at the Department of History of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. But he's in Abuja, and once he called me yesterday, I said, hey, thank God. Dr. Rotimi, good to see you.
My pleasure.
Like I also introduced you, is an expert on policing issues and all of that. Thank you. Good to see you. The OBJ issue is still trending. Well, now we know what Baba meant when he was suggesting a coalition a kind of coalition to move Nigeria forward. Before then, Nigerians had been aware of the national intervention movement that had been trending and all of that. How much of hope can Nigerians place in this Obasanjo initiative?
With due respect to you, Benga, and the Nigerian press, I think people tend to overplay Obasanjo. People should start understanding him. Obasanjo is an iconoclastic icon. He's there to break things and, of course, to make things move forward. Is an enigma. People may not remember that this was a very close friend of Chukwuma Kaduna Nzogu. And when Chukwuma was about to plan his coup, Obasanjo mysteriously had to go on course. Otherwise, he would have been involved. And when the things that happened, he came back. And at the time when there was to be a counter coup and killing of officers, somehow the late Sunday Awoniyi helped to get him out to Ibadan. Things happened and he escaped. And from there, the war was fought, and the late Black Scorpion, Colonel Benjamin Adekunle, was the commander of the 3rd Marine Commando that was prosecuting the war in the East. 3 months to the end of the war, something happened, and Adekunle was arrested and demoted for getting involved in
Indian help. If you don't want to say it, I know the history.
So, Obasanjo took over the command, and 3 months after the war was over, and he wrote my command.
He took the glory for the war.
Thy own mouth has said it, as the Bible would say. So this is the man. And
We also forgot that he mysteriously escaped when his boss,
I was going.
late General Murtala
I was going to
Mohammed,
that
was
because
also
it's-
assassinated
it's
in
a
the coup.
progression.
He was also. I just don't want us to waste so much time. Any
So the
young
man-
Nigerians who want to learn the history
You know,
should go back and read
So
all
the
of that
man eventually became head of state without
without having to fire a bullet.
fire a bullet. This is the man, and when he started his letter writing and agitations against Abacha, and was implicated, in quotes, in a coup d'etat against Abacha and put in prison with the late General Yaradua. Something happened, I mean, that you and I can't understand. Late General Yaradua died in prison. Obasanjo could not die and came back to sit on the throne of the man who wanted to get rid of him in prison.
All right, like I said,
So-
we fast forward? So are we stuck with an Obasanjo for now?
Yeah, so
Until probably he's no more.
this is a man that, you know, he plays certain roles in national affairs, and I don't want people to get too excited when he starts playing those roles, because when you add up all these things, you see that the man himself is an enigma. We leave him to his role. He has tried to sharpen the history of this country for some time, and he's at it again.
All right, Dr. Kemi Rotimi, is there a way you talk about Nigeria's problems and the likes of Obasanjo would like to escape? Or are we seeing a man that each attempt he has made, right from when he handed over to Shagari as his preferred choice, when Shagari was drilling, he was the first to criticize him, and 3 months after he took over for a second term, that government came down. He did so to Abacha. He did so to Babangida. He brought in Yaradua. He brought in Goodluck Jonathan. This government that he is criticizing now, and he's leading a movement that is already issuing red cards to everybody. He brought that government in a way too. Are we stuck with this man for the rest of his life?
Thank you very much, Gbenga. In 1979, well, okay, I'm dealing with a historian here. When Obasanjo stepped down as military head of state, he went to Germany and met Helmut Schmidt. And Helmut Schmidt,
That's the then German Chancellor.
Helmut Schmidt pulled him aside. Do you hope to stay relevant in the affairs of your country? And he answered in the affirmative. Then Helmut Schmidt gave him a piece of advice. Never stay out of controversy. Yes, Baba Obije said this in an interview granted a few years back. But because this is a pre-literate, not quite a reading public, many of these things come and they look new. They're not new. So he's living up to that advice, and he's doing very well with it. I like him a lot, and I'll tell you why I like him. We share two things in common.
Okay.
Yep.
Controversy?
I'm not controversial. I'm not as controversial because I'm not in the public eye, but I have guts. President Obasanjo has guts, and if you use Fela's language, the man doesn't shy away from rough fight. But many people.
Is that what you have in common with him?
Yes, I do. Okay. Oh, I like gutter fight when the other person beats you.
Don't suffer fools gladly.
No. Because, like Fela said, you are staying on dry ground. The other guy is in the gutter, splashing mud. And then you don't want to be Agbaya, and you want to be gentlemanly. It will just mess you up. But you descend into the gutter with him. By the time you emerge, Agbaya, now you have talked truth to each other while in the trench, in the ditch. Now, but many people do not know that Obasanjo is Akanda, yes, but the Akandaness is not a big deal.
is not a loan.
For the purpose of those who understand what Akonda means.
Akonda means a unique individual.
You call him an iconoclastic.
I'm coming to that.
Icon.
is not an iconoclastic icon.
Okay.
Obasanjo is a true wayfaring Christian whose Christianity is not encumbered. Yes, Jesus is coming tomorrow, let it come, but he will meet us here. And I'll tell you this. When Tunde Bakare, in his excitement, started abusing the man, Obasanjo said, look, we can also start our own. People thought it was a joke. Then he started this church in his presidential library and has been giving his daughters out in marriage there and conducting services. And now that he has taken this PhD properly earned, who can say him nay? Yes, Tunde Bakare has the gift of the gap. Obasanjo has the gift of his guts and then can match Tunde Bakare any day if you dare him. So, and the man does not mind it if you want to be rude. El-Rufai was a bit of his creation, but when El-Rufai wrote his public servant abused him back. That boy who has no loyalty to anybody, but it is because of what they have in common, which I have in common with them. El-Rufai has guts. Never mind the stature. When you tell him he's going to die, he says, yes, I'm here to live forever. Because when he got to Kaduna, he did it in Abuja. When he got to Kaduna and cleared Almajiri Umeba from the streets, they said he would die. Then he said, look, those who said it in Abuja have since gone. I'm still here. What El-Rufai and OBJ and myself, the other thing we have in common, but mine is not in the same degree. El-Rufai's own is different, cannot be for public consumption. But back to them as public figures, but Baba OBJ in particular. Wonderful human being, I love him. Of all of Nigeria's indigenous heads of state, that is the only man who has refused to shut himself out of the public glare, and for good cause. One went, took a PhD from Warwick. Since he came back, he has done nothing to contribute to national discourse other than praying, and even the voice is not loud enough. Now, the other man, you know, is aged now, even when he was not aged, has always enjoyed himself. The younger one who took a PhD in botany or botany, zoology or whatever, you can refer to Abdullah's book and then you know what is there. Diziani, Stella and all that, salacious details. President, the PMB, Taciturn, those who don't like him accuse him of culpable taciturnity. Those of us who admire him know that he's carefully watching and waiting. Yes, slow to act, but when he does strike, he strikes with force, with effect. The other man, the Mina man, over-dribbled everybody, including himself, and now age has caught up with him. But OBJ has stayed in the limelight for a fantastic reason. I mean, when a man at over nearer 80 the other day when he began, because according to he doesn't even know his age, started his PhD, it was like a joke. But he has finished. He has finished. Incidentally, I was his guest for a few hours in 2015. By the time he emerged from siesta, he was clutching his bag. He was going to study. He gave me this 5-minute audience in that small room, if you know his setup. And then, of course, we are going to reconnect soon on the basis of what I sent to you yesterday, all things being equal. So this man is not quite the Ebola or there's nothing extraordinary, just guts. But there is another Nigerian who is also like him. That's Asiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. When Obasanjo was desperate, after dealing with the Adefaratis and Adefarakons of the AD, there was only one man left standing. And they tried to use the instrumentality of the police, but they make no headway. You know it as well as I do, that one of the police CPs told them, come and remove your uniform. Of course, he went on to be chairman of LASMA and in fact, made better fortune than when he was in the force. Now, so if you dare him, he doesn't quite mind it. But it is, because to come back to this Azonto dance that we're talking about now, I'm sorry for Nigeria's youths, especially those of them who are masquerading. What usually you talk of people fronting for, is younger ones who front for older ones. But in this of us just saying, it's older ones, no, not the one, older ones fronting for younger ones.
That's what I mean, that he is the one fronting for the younger ones.
No, I don't want to use he because it's not the
loan.
Okay. Oyilola is there, Donald Duke, and for some of these people, personal admiration aside, these people have challenges, even with their own political career. I heard you yesterday talking about the Duke when he left, went to the Labour Party. Donald Duke, for the 8 years of his successor in office, was a pariah in Cross River. If it was that significant, why couldn't he risk it? Many of these people don't have electoral value. That's the truth. Even Baba manages.
So where does that leave Nigeria?
Where that leaves Nigeria is that younger ones should take their fate in their hands, and they should stop this nonsense. Let those who are really the younger ones to drive this new movement come out and let us know them now. I mean, the old man is over 80 officially, and you are still tasking him with being the one to lead you around here. Now, I mean the younger ones. Let them come out and show their faces. Then we'll know whether we are connecting with them or not.
But this coalition, according to him and the others who spoke in Abuja the previous day, they insist that it's not a political movement yet. Yet they are calling for the emergence of a third force. And I'm imagining 2019 is just around the corner. If this is going to be a mass movement and it's not a political party or a political movement yet, do we have time? I'm looking at just 2019 now. Whether we are not stuck with the two old orders again for 2019, PDP and APC, that the Nigerians will still have to find their choice among these two leading political parties.
Benga, my worry is that we suffer a lot of distraction in this country. Our attention is diverted from the main issue most of the time. What is in the mind of everybody now is 2019.
Yeah.
Nobody has asked what has been done with 2015 to 2018.
A mandate that is still subsisting.
Yes. The budgets that are passed every year are at times half implemented. The people are being diverted to thinking that government will be the one to serve them. So people no longer think of what they can do for themselves, their families, their communities, and everybody expects government to do things for them. Unfortunately, when we get that government into power, even the government itself diverts our attention by looking at their perquisites of office and the budget and so on and so forth. So we divert attention from proper nation building. And before you know what is happening, we start hoping that the next government that will be elected into office will be the one to perform the duty that these ones are failing to perform. And therefore, we don't seem to hold the government in function responsible for our calamities. This is happening now. We're now talking about 2019, 2019, 2019. Nobody is even asking the present government what they should be doing. So that bothers me a lot. On the other hand, coming back to your question, I think that what Obasanjo has done should be taken in good stride for the polity.
Should the present government see it as an advice coming from a genuine friend or genuine quarters, and there's still time to at least attend to some of the problems?
They should.
Okay.
Because there's a proverb in my place that says that an old man does not sit down and keep quiet. When a goat, a female goat, is giving birth, tied to a pole, it is the responsibility of the old man to get up and untie the rope so that the female goat can have
the process of delivery can be easier.
So it is a sacrosanct role for statesmen to speak out when they feel that things are not working well. He doesn't gain anything as a person. He rather loses.
Yeah, but shouldn't he have stopped at giving that advice? How about this movement? Because the process of unveiling a preferred candidate will probably start with this. If you also read between the lines where they said, for now it's a movement, it can become a political party.
You are right. I don't know. I can't, as I'm sitting here, say this is what he might have done in the past between him and the administration and the president, which might have been acknowledged or ignored, that pushed him to this extent. I can't say. But I know that even you, Gbenga, in your family, there are certain things you can't keep quiet about. You'll be failing in your moral role as an elder in the family. And I want Nigerians to take it more in that stride than confronting the former president with the president as if they are enemies.
Or try to shoot down his ability to form a movement, which he has a right to.
I think we should be more positive about what is happening. Even the government. We are running a democracy. It's not meritocracy. People have the right to say, sorry, I don't like what is going on. There's another bad thing that is happening in our democracy. We have 68 registered political parties. Now, the rest of the parties leave opposition to the next party that nearly came into power. Okay? And so they isolate them and make them opposition party. All the other parties keep quiet. So when these other people talk, it's as if they are enemies of the ruling party, of the government in power. The other parties should be able to voice...
They are also opposition parties.
Exactly. Yeah. They should be able to say, sorry, sir, what you are doing this way, we don't like it. For the interest of the nation and of our children. Because the idea is not for you just to get into office.
Exactly.
We are looking at what we can do so that children who are recently born, who don't know your face and my face, can live in a better society and not cross over to Libya and cross the Mediterranean.
Okay. Dele Jackson Meji say, Ogaji, Dr. Kemere to me is spot on. The youth must take the fate of Nigeria into their own hands now or never. He says the minds of most Nigerians. Now, building on that, you also seem to, from the way you spoke, like you have some admiration for the sitting president. Shouldn't President Muhammadu Buhari see President Obasanjo's press release, whether or not it was made press release which was for everybody's consumption? Shouldn't he see as something he should own and see some of the problems that the former president has raised that can still be addressed, at least for the sake of his political party and for the sake of the fact that he's still holding a mandate until May 2019?
Each time I'm on the other side watching you anchor this program, I always feel like, isn't it possible to break through the tube in my sitting room and jump into your studio? Now, Gbenga, what evidence do you have that PMB has not internalized or digested what OBJ said? Do you have any evidence? The answer is a capital no. Now, both as military head of state, as beleaguered presidential candidate, as now sitting president, do you know PMB to be a man of many words? Have you ever heard him talk the way OBJ talks? The answer is no. The man has read what OBJ has written. Fine. Baba is welcome. So what do you want him to do? To go on air? To defend? No. It doesn't happen that way. Now, this same OBJ, I like him a lot. Remember what I said, Elmo Schmidt, don't stay out of the limelight. Now, President Obasanjo, when he swore in his last set of special advisors in 2003, told them,
you are just advisors.
You are my advisors. You
are free to take your advice.
Yes. One of them, a former vice chancellor of my university, one day Abimbola, after sitting in the office and just watching, eventually just went and sat down in Oyo. Now,
well, what use is giving advice? Yes. Somebody already told you that he has a right to reject the advice.
There was no opportunity to give any advice anyway. Now, former President Obasanjo has spoken. And I saw one professor the other day, one of these television professors. Hey, what the man has said, the thing is not from God. I'm a student of society and a watcher of Nigeria's politics. You see this movement. Thank God it's still a movement, but God bless Mugabe wherever he is. Do you recall when a movement was started in Zimbabwe? You know what he did to them. But we are not going to. The PMB doesn't have to do that to anybody here. Why do you use a sledgehammer to kill an ant? These are not ants. These are men of stature in their own right. But if we take them one by one, I mentioned Donald Duke. Chief Olagsoyo Inola, gentleman officer, liberal-minded person, and in any case, gave my friend the chance to run a fantastic state university when they started Osun State University. So for that, he earns my admiration. Olagsoyo Inola created Professor, this is a chap, who was in our Center for Energy Research. That was the person the PDP used to torpedo Inola as secretary to the PDP. Inola couldn't do anything about it. Eventually, he walked away and found refuge in the APC. And you know as well as I do, the ordeal of Aregbesola as an opposition person in those days before he became governor. Oyinlola now in APC, when they started doing the Nigerian game at the inauguration of the Buhari government, ministerial nominees, his name kept popping up. I have it on good authority that even one professor was ready to come and work with him as a special assistant. Now, these people, if they see have that much of electoral value, things won't be the way they are. You know what is going on? Whoever is the PDP candidate in 2019 will not garner votes that will fill this cup.
How do you think so?
I will tell you. Wait. You know when I'm your guest, we don't do it that way. Yes. No. When the government was talking.
Here, you are assuming that Nigeria has
I can assume anything.
Nigerians are not complaining about this government.
No. You know that when I come around, which is not often,
I give you the time.
You ask your question and I answer.
Yes.
Now, in 2019, any blind watcher of Nigeria's politics knows that the presidential candidate that may be of value or to be reckoned with will come from northern Nigeria. Whether you are northwest or northeast, north central is not in the reckoning. Let nobody kid himself. So if it is northwest and northeast, fine, fair. If it is northwest, then the other candidate, apart from PMB, is dead on arrival. And who does not know the other candidate is likely to be? Tambuwal, who for now he can't make up his mind where exactly he is, but he's doing the rounds. Look, let nobody kid themselves. Now, since the 2019 election is a north affair, there is no northern Nigerian candidate today or in 2019 that we have the Buhari, say Baba, crowd pulling enigma.
My governor is going to be a presidential candidate.
Of course, you are his campaign manager. You wait after November 2018. By the time your hands over to whoever it don't finish. Now, but I like him and Wike for one thing, and this thing is not rocket science. Between him and Wike, they have now shown the founding fathers of the PDP that when the new kids on the block come around and they have good money, you go and rest.
You see their money.
No, that's not the issue. If President Jonathan, one of those who made Wike whatever Wike is today, couldn't even lean on Wike the other day about the chairman he would prefer, what I was talking about. Any PDP candidate for presidency, in fact, we have to struggle hard. But so this new thing is about creating a platform for that other candidate.
The question I really ask you actually is, shouldn't the president attend to some of the critical issues that capture the yearnings of Nigerians,
and the answer,
the agonies of Nigerians,
the
pains of Nigerians, that in 2015 they voted for change. They wanted to see change. Since then, they haven't seen much of change.
Benga, the answer I gave you, which you have not answered, the answer I gave you, which you have not answered, yes, because it's now answer. Have you any evidence that PMB is not attending to whatever President Obasanjo raised? And this is part of my pain as an academic and a Nigerian. Spending 400 naira every day to buy Punch and Nation, and then we can flip 500, total of 3,000 a week. Now,
I spend more than you.
Yes, of course, you don't have a choice because you need to garner views, but between those two, have enough. Now, what has OBJ said that is extraordinary? Nothing. But what OBJ is not ready to concede, and he should concede it. By the time PMB came into office in 2015, Nigeria had collapsed technically. What we had by 2015 were bodybuilders in government. Any PDP candidate, if he has been a long-standing member of the PDP, will not get votes even in his village. That's the truth of the matter. So it is not about whether PMB is reacting to OBJ or not OBJ. But what most people also don't appreciate, because the man does not talk carelessly and doesn't even talk often, you don't know what goes on in his mind. But you give it to him. When he had first assumed office, anytime President Obasanjo went, he gave him all of the courtesies. When they met in Cote d'Ivoire and former military head of state, Abubakar, was playing...
no, that was in Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
The AU summit.
The AU, when they were dancing what I call a zonto, and Abubakar was moderator. You saw the rockers and the laughter and all that. Yes, but this is politics. And we're in the season of politics. These people are giving us fun. 2018 is sure to be very exciting, and now I'm enjoying myself watching.
Dr. Badinjoko, you know we are here in Abuja together. I can always call you at a moment's notice, but this man that came from Ife needs more time, because I may not see him for the rest of the year. My problem really is that you have. I like your position on whether things are as promised by the president when he came in 2015.
That is what I'm telling you, that if a state had collapsed in 2015 and this man came, do you know why I vote for PMB again? For as long as it's on the ballot. If now we no longer guess who stole our money, that is enough. I'm now in Abuja. I had dinner in Sheraton 4 days ago, and this should interest everybody. After 35 minutes, because I'm very slow when I'm eating, we're only two at that restaurant. Say, hey, come, woman. Where are the guests? Oga, the waiting sound. Occupancy rate is very low. Those who stole our money have disappeared. Was it always like that? By chasing them away, even the mere mention of their names. And I know so many of them. Is it not
because things are harsh that people, the spending power of people have reduced?
No, those who stole our money, largely in the PDP and their police and military cohorts, one took arms money in the police hierarchy. The matter is not closed, it's not open. All of those military chieftains. But for PMB, would you have known that, what is his name, this Badagry man, and all of them,
Amosu.
Yes, acquired that much? When I looked at the profile of Amosu, by the time Amosu went into the NDA, I was already an undergraduate, and I graduated in 1980. Amosu was probably a flight captain or a flight lieutenant. I took a PhD in 1990. Amosu, where was he? Imagine what that man took away from our treasury. If we no longer guess where did our money go, and Abdullah has put it very well. Now, the thing even went into the underpants of people. And then 2 women will have to be struggling for the affection of Mr. President. What I'm talking about here? PMB has done more than any other person put together. People are waving red card, green card. All of that is just jazz. It gives them visibility. And just because Nigerians don't have guts, and those of us who have, we use us in the classroom. But occasionally when I'm in town, if you create the platform, and you can create another one, I'm here. Let's speak truth to ourselves. What are they looking for? Now, if somebody is reconstructing the railway, most Nigerians do not know that Nigeria's politics is nonsense elite politics. If it was even informed elite politics, I wouldn't mind it. This is just base elite politics. I've told you now, youths want to take over. Youths are supposed to drive this movement. But all those we have seen dancing as Zonto are 80-something-year-old and 70-something. I even saw their faces. I was laughing. I was looking and laughing. I was looking for the youths. I was looking for the likes of Feladuro Toye and the rest of them. They are talking about youth because I've heard the boy talk before as if they are the ones we are waiting for. Even this Tambuwal person that I have identified, and he won't say I've done anything wrong. The game is going on. When his bosom friend, SY bosom friend, Bajabe Amila, asked him at that book club the other day, why did you teach me? And they turned it into a joke. We know some of these things that are going on. People will go to Asaba.
All right. I thought I've given you enough time.
And I've given you enough answer, but if the answer you want is to tell you that the change you are expecting has not come, the change has come. All Shine right. Your eyes and look very well. Okay. The change has come. But when people are laying tracks for the railways, and overnight people go and remove the thing again, what do you want anybody to do? What do you expect them to do? Rotimi Amechi did a wonderful job in Rivers. Somebody has just come now who just loves to hug the limelight and make the thing look like there was nothing. You, Gbenga Aruleba, used to interview this Friday edition of Rivers Today or whatever. Giant size. Were they not really giants? This Baba Obasanjo, when he went to Rivers, where Rotimi was there, after all of the K-leg stuff of those days, had to confess, and which is part of the beauty of the man's life. OBJ.
Dr. Padijoku, you read it for us. Shouldn't President Muhammad Buhari heed some of the advisories contained in President Obasanjo's press release? One, particular one, nepotic deployment burden of clannishness.
Very good.
Yes. No.
No, he will talk, and I must talk when he has finished. This you didn't raise.
That's if we have time.
And we create another program. I'm still in town till Monday. I'm not leaving on the Monday afternoon.
Yesterday, somebody was named into the central bank, and it is not an Okechukwu, it is not an Aruleba, it is not an Adewale, it is not a Basi, but it's a Badaru or Ibrahim or something.
You will give me 1 second after him, please, okay?
Doctor,
go ahead first.
No, Doctor Njoku.
He has considered it to me. What is wrong with you?
Let him go ahead.
Now, this nepotistic thing you have said is the backwardness of southern Nigerians, including the educated elite, including you. The commonality of names in northern Nigeria is a given, because I still teased my friend yesterday. Your son-in-law is Bashir. Your son is Bashir. How do we distinguish now? Why don't you always revert to me when you're naming, now that you have grandchildren? I'll give you names. Now, somebody is Muhammad Badaru. I don't know the name. I was too busy yesterday. But if the name is Muhammad Badaru, who told you, Gbenga Aruleba, that Badaru is not a Lagos name? And even if it were a northern Nigerian name, does it mean that it's a Kasinawa? Does it mean that it's a Kanawa? And even if it's a Kasinawa and a Kanawa, from the profile that I overheard, he's been in the central bank for some time. So if he's entitled to elevation, should he not be elevated just because they will say nepotism? This nepotistic thing you have talked about, it is really not quite there. When
even the security architecture.
Wait, this security architecture thing you are talking about. President Obasanjo governed us for 8 years. Who are the 3 inspectors general of police? Musiliu Smith, Tafa Balogun, Eyindero. Where are they from, Gbenga? Are they not Yoruba? Why didn't you raise hell? But did you also recall that under Jonathan, Minima, Finima, and all that were the security chiefs? Security chiefs' business is about the people you are comfortable with or you know well. Okay. And a PMB is a retired general. So what's the big deal? This nepotistic thing, let us create another day. 1 hour. I'm not going to come here to talk for less than 1 hour. We must address the issue because southern Nigerians are very backward about this thing about northern Nigerians. Yes.
Okay. So that being the case, let's leave it for
yes.
today. Doctor.
Thank you very much, sir, for your graciousness, so that I can address this issue.
Just in less than 1 minute, just say anything. It may be that issue, it may be an advice, anything. But be sure that I'll make up for it.
Nepotism.
What really worries me is that we have been practicing this politics of the old by the old for the youths. I think that we should start seeding places to younger people, because I've always said that if I...
Is that in relation to the coalition that the president is leading?
Whether the coalition or the present government, let us always bear in mind, as I've always said, that if you are at the age of 60 and you are trying to construct a new home, you should tell your architect to take into consideration the interest of your children.
All right.
More than your own interest.
All right, Dr. Ojoko, I need to stop you there.
Because you have lesser time to live in that house than the children.
Thank you so much. We always find time to talk about Nigeria.
Yeah.
You know, because the conversation about Nigeria is not one we can finish in one edition of the program.
No.
It's a never-ending one, really.
No.
So we will always have time to talk about this and so many other issues. For today, I thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Padin Joko.
Thank you.
I should tell Nigerians that what?
We are resuming on Monday. This nepotistic thing, we must address it openly on air. Let others come on Monday. I'm coming there. Don't invite me.
If I don't invite you,
I will lay a siege to your door. I'll come in at 6 a.m. and I won't leave until 11.
Okay, for now, don't lay a siege. For now, just take your leave and go back to your hotel.
No.
Or go back and do what you have come to do now.
Monday morning, I'm coming back.
Monday is still far from now.
I will be alive.
Dr. Rotimi, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
I'm leaving now.
Enjoy the weekend.
You too, and stay out of trouble. Let me give you the advice before you go fight. Stay out of trouble. And now, with this cap, it's clear that you are still handing after the Obaship of Ikere, but you have to wait for the new man, or maybe take over.
This man doesn't know friends. He doesn't even know friendship.
Why you don't know friendship? When I see you Bushta people here.
All right, thank you so much. Do enjoy the weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.
And stay out of trouble.